there are two reasons that we keep track of our records of our incomes and expenses and liabilities and assets. First one's pretty obvious. It's so we can see how the business is doing. So you, as the business owner, want to make sure that what you're doing is profitable. Also, if you're going to go for a loan at the bank or another institution, they want to see how the business is doing, and they want to make sure that it's profitable and in a good position. And also, maybe you would be considering investors, and they'd be interested too to see how the business is doing. The other obvious reason, of course, is tax calculations. So, for example, income tax. CRA would like to know how much to charge income tax on your income. And you want to keep track of, like I said, liabilities, and taxes overlap there. So if you're collecting sales tax for CRA or payroll taxes, there's WCB and PST, so those are the things. So those are the two main reasons of tracking the records and doing bookkeeping. Also, there's two ways to approach keeping track of your records and doing your bookkeeping. The first way, and my favorite way, is efficiently and accurately. For example, you want to make sure that if you're using a business bank account, that it only has business transactions in it. That makes it a lot easier to sort through, enter, and allocate the transactions. You got to remember that maybe you have a bookkeeper who you're working with, and you want to be mindful of them, so that, little notes on things to say what they're for, or, notes to your future self, so working as a team. Also, the documentation, you want to keep it and not lose it. So maybe to have some sort of system that is a place that you always put it, make it part of a habit, right? So that it always goes to the same place and it's easy to find. And also streamlining processes. What I mean by this is a lot of times people will do things 2 or 3 times without realizing they're doing things 2 or 3 times. So for example, maybe you create an invoice in Excel and you print it out and you give it to your client, and you also give a copy to your bookkeeper, or keep it in a box and give them to your bookkeeper. And then your bookkeeper goes ahead and puts it into the bookkeeping system. So you've entered it on Excel and then they enter it somewhere else. You can see how that's doing something twice. It might be worth your while in your circumstance to look to see what bookkeeping software they're using, so that you can use it too and kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Another way of thinking about streamlined processes is, say for example, you find a software or a program that actually emails the invoices to your client for you, or accepts payments and then enters it into like a record that this payment was accepted. It also hits up the ledger, so that gets done for you. So streamlining processes, like with all the technology out there, is really an option to look for, because you want to be efficient and you want to be accurate. Of course, the other way to approach bookkeeping is the opposite of all that. It's inefficiently and inaccurately. Not that you would do it on purpose, but when you're not mindful of the other thing you've got to do also, right? Then it starts to become less efficient and less accurate. So for example, don't mix in non-business transactions, either on your bank account, or maybe you've got a box of cash receipts and you just put all of them in there, and now you've got to figure out which ones are business and which ones aren't. That's a bit of a waste of time. Not having the paperwork there, or the paperwork is not very clear, you're making other people guess, so you're not really working as a team. And of course, when I say other people, that other person just could be you, your future you, who's trying to figure this stuff later on in the future. And don't think you're going to remember stuff, because you don't. We just make notes, write notes to your future self or to your bookkeeper. And don't do things twice, kind of, like I said, all the opposite of what I had just said. Not that we do things twice on purpose, but being mindful of how you do things so that it takes care of 2 things at once. It's just a good idea.